Hello, welcome to Hanging with Howie. And before I introduce my very experienced cast of characters tonight, we want to thank our longtime sponsor here, and that's DJ Event Planner. And that's www.djeventplanner.com and a host of others that will be down in the description when this goes and is published. And there will be hyperlinks. If you click on them and you use them to buy any sort of gear, it helps keep us on the air. So please use them if you can. And we will start off. I'm just going to start off left to right. And tonight we have Eric with us. Welcome, Eric.
Hello, buddy.
And we have Buddy with us as always. Hello, Buddy. And the inimitable Jay Brennan. Hello, Jay.
They're going to see he was abominable.
Abominable.
Abominable, Jay Brennan.
There he is.
Then I thought you were going to talk about Bill. I'm like, stop fat shaming Bill.
Well, actually, Bill is up next. Welcome, Bill.
The abominable Bill.
And of course, get your glasses ready. My road dog, John, Boston John. Welcome.
Greetings, all.
In honor of Boston John, I got my market basket.
And we have Matt with us. And then
in the great Bay State of Massachusetts today.
Very nice. Oh, nice. You're near Boston John then. And
don't
then,
remind me.
As always, last but not least, we have Brian with us, our insult comic. So
I have no filter when I'm
trying.
Anyway, what I wanted to talk about tonight and see what you guys think is that we can share with some of the newcomers, especially, would be what is the very first thing you do when you get to a venue?
Find an ashtray.
The first few things, maybe, that you do when you get to the venue. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay, Eric.
First thing I do when I get to a venue is go in empty-handed, obviously, to see where I'm going to set up, how hard it's going to be to lug the stuff in. And obviously, like most of us would go to the venue beforehand anyway to see how hard this is going to be. But I want to make sure that I'm going to be in the area they said I was going to be, and introduce myself to whoever the host is, if they are, or, if they are there, and let them know that I'll be setting up. And that's basically it for me. That's the first thing I do. Yeah.
Thank you, Eric. All right. Let's see. Buddy, what would you do? What do you do?
Well, I'm lucky that I have Tracy with me, and she usually goes in and talks to the manager and says, hey, we're here, notifies them that we're there to verify where we load in, load out on. That all that stuff right there we know beforehand for load in, load out, and verify everything, in the room. And then usually I'm unloading the van, so I'm grabbing hold of equipment, getting onto carts and stuff like that. And then she comes back, we wheel the carts in. But it's always, I feel that talking to the facility, communication with the facility puts them at ease, because they understand that you have a professional coming in, not someone who may not know what to do, and they feel much more at ease knowing that here's someone who cares about my rules, my house rules, and they're going to follow them, versus someone just coming in saying, you know what, I'm going to do what I want.
Very good. Boston John, what do you got? What do you do? And now, keep in mind, folks, this is not just wedding specific. It's any event.
For sure. The first thing, probably in the last 10 years, it's changed, is I'll pull right up to the front door, put on my four ways, shut the car off, lock it, and I'll go make sure the venue is open. Because, Boston, you got to lock the door. Yeah. But I've got to the venue 2 hours early before, and I've been the first one there, and the place wasn't even open. So before you go loading everything on the cart, make sure you have access to the building. And then that began a series of phone calls to, all the numbers listed until I got someone say, is someone come and open up this place? Because, it's go time in 90 minutes. And, so-and-so should be there. Let me give him a call. And then go in, obviously, and have a look around to see if anything's changed from what you got as a blueprint. Are you still setting up in the same place? Are your outlets there? If you didn't get a chance to see it ahead of time, just do a little early recon before you start dragging everything into the building.
Wow. Very good. Thank you. All right. Let's see. Who wants to go next? Bill, you want to?
Sure. For me, if it's a venue that I'm unfamiliar with, I don't necessarily always go in empty-handed. It really depends on what I'm doing in the load-in. So I might take a couple of easy things to carry in my hands in, if for no other reason, just to one less load. But once I'm in, kind of like Eric said, I'm gonna make sure that where I'm setting up is where I was already intending or planning to set up. Meet and greet whoever is the floor manager at that moment, which isn't necessarily the banquet manager or the catering manager or the event coordinator. It might just be the facility manager who's putting up all the tables and stuff, depending on how early you're getting there. But that's a good person to know, because that's the person who might have to go and get you your table if you're going to, use a venue table. And that's the other thing. I will usually kind of take a quick look around and see, do I need to bring in my own table? Do I need to bring in my linens and, whatever. And then just kind of create a plan for what's next.
Thank you, Bill.
Sure.
Alrighty. How about you, Matt?
What do I do first when I get to a venue? Well, it depends on if it's a number one or
first few things.
It depends if it's a number one or a number two, Howie. It really does. No.
We all know that.
That is an important thing to know as far as location goes, though. But outside of all the bathroom humor, unintended, really, so out of some of the things that have been said already, I like to go in and touch base with somebody first, especially if it's my first time at that venue. And, there's no sort of established game plan. I have some people that, unless the bride and groom or whatever clients have wanted something totally different, have a pretty established place for the DJ, but it's still good to get those ideas. So I do like to make those contacts, talk to those people, and then sort of like Bill said, just even before finding them, just introducing myself along the way to whomever, photographers, florists, the bakers that are dropping off the cake, the caterers, anybody. So it's kind of my checklist as I'm going before I start setting up and assuming I have free range of every outlet in the joint and all that kind of stuff.
This is going kind of like I expected, but let's see where it's going to go with Brian, the insult comic.
Well, I had to look up abominable because I really didn't know what it meant. And it turns out that it means very bad or unpleasant. So just I thought I'd throw that out there, I am uneducated, and if you are too, go on this journey with me. We'll learn as we go. I'm doing the same thing everybody else does. I don't know. I'm just going in there, checking my stage area, make sure it's clear, saying hi to whoever's in charge, asking where they would like me to load in, and do that. Also check, well, for me, I do it for two reasons. I look for handicap accessibility because A, I'm disabled, B, it's easier to get your gear in that way. Especially if you're disabled loading in gear, they can't really say no to you. So it does make my life a little easier. That those are the kind of things. I don't know what you're looking for us to say, but that's what I do. Yeah, is this the right place? Is this the Jones wedding? Oh, good. Yes, and I'm in the right place.
Yeah, and it could be technical in nature or just so far it's been social. But
well, no, it's just a matter of going in, checking the stage area, making sure it's what you thought it was going to be, or it's what they said it was going to be. Plenty of room. Back in the old days, one of the first things that we used to do is we used to actually find our own setup area, and our setup area was somewhere that had at least 2 accessible power outlets because your lights were halogen.
Right.
Yes.
And you were hoping if you got 2 different outlets, you at least were on 2 different breakers.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
That's so true. Jay, you're up.
I think I might be different in this, but I've either worked the venues that I'm working or I've done a recent site inspection. So I tend to come in with a cart of gear because I know where I'm supposed to be and what I'm supposed to be setting up. So I pretty much go right in the door with ready to work.
Yeah.
I can say hi to people. You're there a couple hours prior to an event, whatever the event is. You're getting the tail end of one staff or the beginning of new staff. And usually the banquet captain or wedding coordinator or room coordinator is running around anyway. So I like to be all set up, then find people. Only because then they, A, can see that it's me, the DJ, setting up. And B, by the time I talk to them, I've already set everything up. If they decide to throw a wrench in the works and go, oh, I think she wanted you over there. It's like, oh, last week you guys wanted me right there and I'm already set up. Which rarely ever happens. But once in a blue moon, I usually ask to see the seating chart just so I can make comments beforehand. Like, do you know the people at these 2 tables because they're directly in front of the speakers?
Right.
Oh, we didn't think about that. I'm like, absolutely. I did it last Saturday at a wedding or the week before. Got there and I was like, you know what? You have 3 tables in a space that last wedding you had 6. Do you mind if I move this table over? It's really going to be right in the line of fire for the speaker. Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. Great. And I just literally pulled chairs and moved glasses and moved tables.
Mm-hmm.
It's just going to hurt me in the end. And it's going to look stupid if I say, yeah, I realized that at 2:00 this afternoon. And now at 8:00 when dancing starts, too late now,
Right.
But I think everyone's answer is correct. I think getting to the venue and securing where you are, what you're doing, some of our hotels, I'm sure Boston is the same. I'm sure everywhere is the same. You're loading in on loading docks. You might take 3 elevators and 2 ramps before you get to the room. The last thing I want to do is go 5 stories in a hotel, say hi, and then go back down 5 to come back up 5. So I just assume at least start to get gear in the door if possible.
Right.
Right.
Even if it's a light trip.
Well, to your point about, hey, if you're bringing in a cart with speakers, they're probably going to assume you're the DJ, Yeah,
it always makes me laugh. I think I told you guys a couple years ago, I did a swearing in of a U.S. attorney and they had a bomb dog check my cart. And they came in and said, is that your cart? I said, yes. They're like, could you please step back? We have a dog that's going to sniff the cart. I'm like, go right ahead. And they checked it. But what made me, and I kind of giggled, and she's like, yeah, this is what we have to do. I said, no, it's not that. It's that you have a VIP and your security with the federal marshals to check on things. I said, I got all the way here through the whole kitchen. She's like, you did? I'm like, I could walk into any hotel in the planet Earth, walk into their kitchen with a long cart with black boxes on it and go, hey, how's it going? I'm DJ. I got a wedding. Oh, over there. No one's ever stopped me. No one's ever said, like, who are you? I mean, it just makes me laugh how much access we all have to secure areas.
Yeah.
Let me see your DJ badge.
Yeah, the only proof is you look like an idiot and you're carrying speakers and a couple bags and there's some XLR cables hanging out. It's like, that's not
Occasionally
time
I'll
to watch a speaker cable.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go in a different direction, and maybe you guys have something on this, but I agree with you that, the first thing, if you haven't been there, find out where you're supposed to be, suggest, a better, place for you to be so you don't blow people's ears out and that sort of thing. But once I know where I'm going to be, is I use that little yellow plug that gives you the polarity to make sure, hey, if I'm going to set up here, do I have power before I set everything up and have to move? or run a 50, 100-foot cable somewhere else. And, the pleasantries, those all come along because you're going to run into, they're working too. So you're going to run into them sooner or later, in my opinion. But I will look for power. And then here is something that I want to do. I'm going to share the screen. This is especially for people that do specialty lighting. And I'm going to share the screen. And here we go. And it doesn't have sound, but this is an app on my phone, and I will check frequencies because you don't know where their main router is. I might be over here. See where it says Donner? I used this for a different presentation at one time, but most places are going to be between 1 and 3. Okay, on the channel selection for their Wi-Fi. So over here, you can see where it says Wi-Fi and it says Dark Star in purple. That's me. I'm on channel 11. This is the orange one is my home network, and that just automatically showed up. But suppose I get there, I find all this clutter all the way to the left where it says Donner. I can move. All you have to do is move 2 channels away if you're using Wi-Fi for whatever reason, whether it's lighting or you Wi-Fi remote speakers or you have Wi-Fi microphones. It doesn't matter. You move yourself, 2 channels apart. Look at what we have in between. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So you can pick the channel that you would like to use. And that's one of the first technical things that I do before I set things up. Does anyone have any other thoughts on anything technical?
One of the things, Howie, you kind of touched on it when you checked the power. We all go into venues hoping that everything is working 100%. We don't know what a previous band DJ fill in the blank here did to those outlets. So doing an extra check and verifying and make sure you have a test light, you have something to plug in and see, Furman Power Strip has a switch on it, a little light. Plug it in, flip the switch on, you get the little red light on, you got power. And then you're going through Furman, which is going to filter that power too. But double check and making sure before you set all your equipment up, especially some people have big elaborate setups with, big speakers and whatnot. It's nice to know that, hey, my base is covered, my base is good. Plus, I've run into it, both, weddings and stuff like that. Outlets who are very heavily worn, you go put a plug in and all of a sudden you breathe on it, it wants to pop out. So you got to kind of move the fingers out a little bit on the plug and push it in. So it's stuff like that. Do you know beforehand you're not going halfway through the wedding and all of a sudden you accidentally unplug yourself?
Even if it falls out from the base.
even if you don't have a Furman and testers, I did a video a couple years ago because I had to plug in around an outside patio. I just took a power strip that lights up when it's turned on. First plug, couldn't get it to light up. Second plug, it lit up. Okay, I'll plug in here. So instead of running 100 feet of cable, just like I never tape down speaker cables until I have sound out of the speakers.
Right.
Because what if the cable's no good? Then I have to replace a cable that's already been taped down. I see guys tape everything down before they start, and I'm like, you don't want to wait till you at least have a signal? Oh, I know it's good. Well, what if that cable got stepped on or kinked in a bag? The other day I ran 300 feet of cable without tape. I had to
Plus,
do
also, Jay,
graduation.
You may have to move the speaker a little bit. You hear it in sound, and maybe you have the speaker pointed toward a window. You may have to move it over a foot or two, or maybe turn the direction of the speaker. And if you have the cable already taped down, you got to pull it back up. It's harder to move stuff. It's one of the things, it's a smart thing to do is tape it afterwards.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, once you're done, that's when you clean up cable management.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't bother doing that ahead of time. You know it's going to get taped. Maybe taping under a doorway so the staff doesn't trip coming out. But outside of that, once you know you've got everything you need, just plug in and rock the show.
Get it working, then make it pretty.
Underwear on first before you put your pants on. Is that what you're saying?
A little bit, yeah. If Buddy's got speakers pointed at the wall by mistake, I think it's best he doesn't tape down yet, just in case. Turns it on and he realizes these speakers are backwards.
Oh, your speaker backwards. You got to turn around.
Gosh, I didn't tape this down.
Why did I aim that?
Thank goodness I listened to Jay.
See? Well, and I get all my advice from the man in the dark corner, Brian.
What I do?
You're just sitting in the dark corner. That spy bar thing's gone to your head.
Yeah, well, I'm just listening.
Anybody
This
else?
is Inspector Gadget. Brian is what you would see if you could see the rest of Dr. Claw.
Especially with the lights coming over but his side and blowing him up and stuff from the side. He looks like a Bond villain. Mr. Bond, how are you doing today?
You like a Bond villain.
Brian, go like this. Dr. Evil stuff.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything technical they want to talk about on that?
It's sort of technical. One thing I was going to say to what Jay was saying, the reason I prefaced my comment was if it's a venue I've never been to, was because there are unfamiliar situations that you kind of want to make sure of before you get in too deep. You might be loading in at the loading dock and they are like, oh no, your ballroom's on ground level. You can just roll in right through that door over there. And so, it's good to have advanced scouted the venue. It's good to have gone and done your due diligence with a walkthrough when you can. I also use the internet, and this is why I said it's kind of technical. I do everything I can to scout a venue before even booking an event at a venue that I'm unfamiliar with by going on the internet, not just looking at their website, but I'll do a quick search
for porn
or photographers at,
but that's another show.
Now he had to go and make me stutter. No, but I'll do a quick search for photographers and like wedding photographer and then the venue name. And because they all tag the venues. And then I'll end up with a whole bunch of pictures from a different point of view than what the venue is showing off.
Instagram's really good about doing that too, Bill. That's what you use.
Google Maps is another great one too. You can look on Google Maps. People upload photos all the time.
Yep.
They're taking a selfie, but that selfie could hold a picture of the doorway you're walking in through. So there's a lot of information there. You go around looking around and stuff.
Or they're standing in front of the elevator with the out of service sign on it, and you're like, "Oh, wait a second, hold on."
Is that taken today, or is that taken last week?
Well, and that's another thing. I mean, in our area, we have some old buildings with some old elevators, and there was one popular wedding venue that could have 3 events going on at one time, and their loading dock elevators, they had 2 just standard like elevators, not even like the big loading dock type elevators, and only one of them worked 98% of the time. So you wanted to get in, you wanted all your stuff in the hallway, and you wanted to just go up and down the elevator as quickly as possible to get it all in there. And so to what Jay's saying, I would, at that venue, I'd go in with the biggest loaded cart I could come up with and try to get everything all in one shot.
One trip, like when you carry all the shopping bags from the car and one trip, right? I'm not going back for a loaf of bread. It's all coming one trip.
It's all coming in one shot. Yeah.
And like Bill says about checking it out ahead of time, find out, and I've even done this search, believe it or not, load in, and then typed in a place to see if some DJ or somebody else has said, don't ever work here. Because there are venues that I'll say no to, based solely on the fact that the parking for the venue is 4 or 5 blocks away in a downtown San Diego area, which means when I'm done at 11 or 12 at night, I'm walking and then double parking in a club area trying to load out, it's if you can book that date, it's not worth the headache.
Right.
You know, it sounds stupid, but it's coming a few times where I'm like, yeah, it's a beautiful venue. I work there, and it's just so much of a pain in the ass. It's just not worth the aggravation.
But Bill gave me a good idea, though. Now when my wife texts my phone, Eric, what's on this? Hey, I was at a wedding Saturday. I was checking the internet, you know.
So you weren't looking at porn?
No, I was not. I was checking the internet. Thank you, Bill. Thank you.
What do you think he is, abominable? Come on.
Is that
Wow, you sure do a lot of weddings at Brazzers Studios.
But John brought up a good point a few weeks ago.
Good one.
Loading the equipment in Boston area, where it was like a drive-by, like you'd hand somebody the speakers, you have to go around the block, and then give them something else to bring in. I thought that was kind of funny, but it's true. And if you're in the Boston area, there's nowhere to park.
Yeah, that's like 8th and L Street in Southie. It's one lane, cars on both sides, and no stopping.
Right.
And you're going to be down the beach, which is about, like Jay said, 4 to 6 blocks away when you park for that venue. Then you got to go get the car at the end and reverse the procedure to go home. You know, not every place is for us. It's great if maybe you play an acoustic guitar and you're walking in with one case, but for DJs, it's a lot harder. You know,
I've got Stevie and Eris doing drop-offs and pickups for me now.
Wow.
Because they live right down the road. I mean, it's working out at the club, but I mean, I have gear to bring in. Parking's atrocious.
Right.
So when they're available, and they usually are, especially on Fridays, that's the procedure. I get ready to go. I pick Stevie up. I drive to the club. I throw my hazard lights on in front of it, unload my stuff. She leaves. And then I text them 15 minutes before I want them to come. And they're there. So the parking logistics in cities can suck. And
yes,
it's a money saver for us because it's not far. And it's a big time saver because I'm not hiking back from that 6 blocks away parking spot that I had to find before I start and at the end of the night.
Well, that goes right with the whole point of the show is what do you do when you're at a gig? First thing is call your backup to grab your equipment, right? You know, when you can't park. That's another good point, Brian.
I was thinking about Bill because something in the old days, you know, there was a procedure for loading in and loading out. And this pertains to you, Bill. And you would probably agree with this. The first thing that you load in is your CD case. And the last thing you load out is your CD case because you don't, well, no, it's the same thing with your laptop or whatever.
Yeah.
Because as you're loading out, you know, some guy or gal or whoever could come by and snag your stuff and then you're SOL. I mean, people would get their CD collections or the record collections stolen back in the old days and it put them out of business.
You're screwed.
Yeah.
2 times.
So a guy like Bill, okay, who still uses CDs, although he's on the internet, who's not completely living in 1992, should know to do this kind of stuff because it's very important.
I also use these.
Yes.
That's a thumb drive.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Well played, Bill.
look at you, all fancy.
Wow.
I won't ask you what's on that thumb drive, but
Yeah, future boy.
No, he keeps all that stuff on the floppy disk.
floppy disk.
Yeah,
Floppy. He said floppy.
that way nobody else can know what it is.
Oh, boy.
Actually, that would be the best security setup. It's like, anyone know how to take care of one of these VHS tapes? No, no one has a VCR. Oh, well.
Hey, anybody want to see what's on Bill's flash drive? No, I do not want to know what's on Bill's flash drive.
No.
And no, we were afraid of having magazines get caught. Now it's like if my kids see a bunch of VHS tapes, so what? As long as there's no labels, what are they going to do with it? They wouldn't know how to play them anyway.
Right.
I'm pretty sure.
Record over them? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure Bill's VCR is still blinking 12 o'clock. You don't care.
Now he's on beta. Once he gets to VHS, that's going to be a different game. That 7-Eleven in his neck of the woods still rents.
At least he's not still doing with the 8-track. You know, that's the good news.
That was
That's a
some
drag to queue.
audio, at least.
They're a drag to queue.
Oh, yeah. I've never done that.
Sorry, Howie.
I did have an 8-track in my 1952 Dodge 3/4 ton pickup, but never in my house.
I have an 8-track within like arm's reach of me.
I had an 8-track in my house.
For real?
Oh, sure.
No,
ready
you
to share
don't
with
have
class.
to prove it. I believe you. I believe you.
And if you miss your song or it goes through your song, you're a good 10 minutes of jumping from 1, 2, 3, 4 to figure out when that, and you end up memorizing when Peg by Steely Dan comes
he does
back.
have one.
This other
66
one
T-Bird
here.
stuff, man.
Let me see the back of that.
Oh my word! Are
Oh
you
my
gonna-
God.
Yeah, this is vintage 66 T-Bird 8-track.
Wow.
I'm supposed to be testing these. I just haven't done it. But yeah, I should see 2 of them sitting over there. But yeah,
If
66
that goes back into a vehicle, will you put a CB in with it too?
Well, probably. Knowing my goofy kid, probably will have a CB with a big old whip hanging off of it. But these are actually pretty expensive. They're rare. 66 T-Birds were the first car to have the optional factory 8-track player.
Is that
1966?
Is that a factory? That one there.
This is a factory
Wow.
Ford 66 T-Bird 8-track player. Yes.
Unbelievable.
So they are
somewhere somebody has made an adapter.
Somebody would pay $1,000 for that.
Well, you know what they do now? I saw a guy who he didn't have an 8-track, but he had an AM/FM radio in his car, and what he did was, it's kind of the Mr. Microphone thing. You tuned Bluetooth to the frequency and just play your MP3s off your MP3 player. So the 88.9 frequency or whatever.
I do 88.1 in the Volvo because it's a specific Volvo that runs not only the radio but the heater and the AC and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no aftermarket radio and it doesn't have an aux in. So I have to run a wireless Bluetooth to it from the cigarette lighter.
For the FM signal, yeah.
I know I've seen like the AC Delco AM radios that are period correct for the car, but there's a push button like the old Blaupunks that I had in my Volkswagen that you could pull the face off. And behind the face, it's all integrated with Bluetooth and CD. So if you get an old Mustang, you see the AC Delco radio, but what's behind it is actually a faceplate for a real radio.
It's modern. Yeah.
Bomoko.
Bomoko.
Wow.
Yeah. Bomoko.
That's worth
stuff.
money.
Yeah. I know. I just totally hijacked your show with something stupid nobody cares about, but
No, that was
well,
great.
you know that I do because I'm a tech guy. But
there are 22-year-olds everywhere saying, "What's an 8-track?"
They're older than 22, not knowing what an 8-track is.
Yeah. I've seen the memes where if you want to punish your kid, lock them in a room with a rotary phone, an 8-track player, and a VHS. You know,
Yeah, which were like, our favorite things.
Well, it's our childhood.
Yeah.
I mean, that was what state of the art back then.
Oh yeah.
And just to even be able to play your own music in a car was really something revolutionary.
It's funny when you think about what modern is, because recently, my daughter and her husband, they're both 25 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
They'll be 26 at Christmas time. Well, around that. They're about the same age. I just recently introduced them to a television show that I assumed they were aware of, but they were not. And now they come over late at night to watch this television show with me. Like the old-fashioned TV shows, from the show that her mother and I used to watch before we went to bed around the time she was born. Would you like to guess what that show is?
The Honeymooners.
Beavis and Butthead.
Oh my God.
Oh, well,
this is all perspective.
Yeah.
They had seen the cartoons but had no idea what they sounded like or what their shows were.
Yeah.
My kids are fascinated by Beavis and Butthead.
Wow.
Are you serious? They never saw that before?
No, that's old-fashioned stuff to them. That might as well be I Love Lucy.
Yeah, you have to show them like Charlie Brown, like the Christmas special or something, you know?
Or Bewitched or some shit that was like over and done with before I was born, you know?
Wow.
There's some perspective for you. The old-fashioned television shows we're watching with Dad, Beavis and Butthead.
Wow. Now that's going back.
Go shake your fist at the sky about something.
If you wanted to get your song to play in your car on the radio, you'd pull over, find a dime, make the call from the payphone to the radio station. Like, can you play Steely Dan? Hang up, get back into the car, and drive around until they play it. That's how you.
Yeah, raise your hand if you've made a call from your phone from a payphone in your car.
Oh, not in my car.
Hey, I'm in my car right now. You get this cable, just like, you know, who knows what kind of disease is on the receiver that you're hanging on to right in your mouth. Awesome.
Good times. Good times.
Awesome.
So, don't become too attached to how you're DJing now or how you're getting and listening to your music now, because as seen here is something that is ever evolving. It might be unimaginable at this point that we'll do something other than hooking our phones up to a car or playing a bunch of music off a laptop or a thumb drive. But, you know, I mean, there's no telling what's coming.
Now, I'm not a futurist, but I think digital's here to stay. It's going to be something like that. What's just interesting is the day of hard media is gone.
Well, I was kind of bummed when, with that 52 pickup I had, I put that 8-track in there, and then boom, not even a year later, cassettes came out, and that was the thing. And I was like, God damn it. I had to go out, I took that out, put the cassette player in, and it was just, music's an endless money pit for me.
What was the last 8-track you bought at the store?
The last one would be Hot Rocks by the Rolling Stones.
The last 8-track I bought was Jay Giles' band Freeze Frame.
Oh, good one.
Yeah, that was the last one I bought.
That was long after 8-tracks were gone, right?
Well, they weren't gone. They were just coming out of fashion, but the stuff was still available.
Oh,
and I happen to have an 8-track player, and there was a copy of Jay Giles' band Freeze Frame on 8-track. Cool. Wow. Let's do that.
That's great. That's great.
We had the AM/FM 8-track record player combo unit.
Ooh.
We weren't fancy enough to have the cassette yet, because that was a relatively modern thing to go in those combo units. So you could just plug it in there and play. And
the last one I bought was
the cassette adapter into the 8-track player. That was a thing too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the last one I bought were the Eagles, but
I'm going with the way Jay does it now. With you tune in and 88.1, because you've been in my truck, Brian. Mm-hmm. There's a cassette player in it.
Yeah.
It's in 1997. So. Yeah,
that's what they do with classics. If you've got FM signal, that's what they do.
Yeah,
it makes sense. I mean, it
does.
I mean, It costs you like $20-$25.
Yeah, it's nothing.
You go spend $100, $200, $300 in a new stereo.
You're wiring nothing. It's
nothing.
Playing your music.
I play off of my phone, and
that's
nothing
smart.
to it. Yep. So, hey guys, anything else anybody wants to drop on us here before we put a fork in this? Or
Bill, you're not really abominable. I love you, man. I
appreciate
Bill's the man.
I'm incomparable. That's all.
Let me put
inevitable even. Yes.
There we go.
Put a plug in. I know we're all good about listening to different radio broadcasts, different DJs, and even go into the clubs and observe them. But I want to put a plug in for three of our own here. And if any of the rest of y'all do Twitch and I don't know about it, my apologies. That's not meant to be a snub. But Jay and John and Buddy, oh my gosh,
yes,
they're going to play music that you've either not thought about playing or haven't heard in a while or haven't heard ever. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like getting that missing piece of the puzzle from what gets rotated heavily on any format radio stations. So it's definitely worth checking out their streams. So
thank you.
That's something that John can get links for, their various channels or anything, but if not, check them out. I think they're pretty well all listed out by their names. John, I think yours is DJ John C83. Jay's, I think, is DJ J Brennan, and Buddy, you're like TBM _// / No, what is yours, Buddy? TBM Productions _ Buddy.
It's Buddy Mueller at TB. It's TBM Productions _ Buddy.
Rolls right off the tongue. So yeah, definitely
All right.
check those guys out on Twitch.
Appreciate that, man.
All right, I hate to break your bubble, Matt, but you will get paid from Jay and Buddy for that. But good luck collecting from John. Yeah.
And with that being said, one of our main sponsors, Blue Painting Tape from Home Depot, would like to say thank you for watching.
I thought you were going to say Blue Chew, those pills. Like, when did they jump on the bandwagon?
Like every other podcast.
Tape.
Are you too tired to perform after performing?